Kia ora koutou. I'm Sean Davis, an enterpriser at Venture Taranaki, and you're joining us for the second Ahead of the Curve webinar brought to you by Venture Taranaki in partnership with the Regional Business Partners Network. Venture Taranaki has supported over 1,000 of Taranaki enterprises through COVID-19, with many of these businesses receiving funding that can be used towards professional advice, such as you'll be hearing from Jordan McFadyen today. Please remember, we're always here for our business community, and you can reach us at our website at business.taranaki.info. Last week, we had Grant McCoy from Velocity share how to prepare for Level 3. If you missed this webinar, please visit our website and search Ahead of the Curve for the recording. Now today, we have Jordan McFadyen from Done by 9, who will be covering how your business can adapt to digital marketing for Level 3 and beyond. We also have Adam Harris on the panel helping facilitate the webinar. Over to you, Adam, to run through some housekeeping and how the webinar will proceed.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sean. Good morning, everybody. So a couple of things just to make the webinar a little bit more interactive so that we can get as much interaction and questions as possible. So the first thing is, top right-hand corner, you'll see a thing that says speaker view or gallery view. This enables you to toggle in between so that you can either see all three panelists or just the person that's speaking at the time. The other thing I want to point out is along the bottom, you'll see a couple of different things that I just want to point you out to. So the first one is the chat box. So if you open the chat box and ensure on the drop-down menu that you put all panelists and attendees, it would just be great to hear from all of you. Just put in your name and where you're from today and the company. That would be great, just so we can get some dialogue and some conversation going. We've also got a box that's called the Q&A. So this is question and answers. So as Jordan goes through his presentation, if you can put in there any questions that you've got for Jordan, and then as and when we move into the second part of the webinar, myself will be asking Jordan, as well as Sean, some questions based on today's topic. The other thing is that I'm going to run a couple of polls, and the first poll that I'm going to launch is around impact on your marketing budget. So thinking about your organization, has COVID-19 impacted your marketing budget? Yes, completely frozen my marketing spend, somewhat scaled down my marketing spend, or no, business as usual. So I'm going to launch that, let it run for about 5 to 6 minutes, and then Jordan can have a look at the results and discuss it as part of his presentation. So please make sure that you type in the chat box, as well as put in questions into the Q&A box, and we'll go from there. Jordan, over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Adam, and also thanks, Sean and Venture Taranaki for having me. Now I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully you can see that there now. Just a little bit about me. Firstly, my name's Jordan McFadyen. So I'm a small business owner here based in New Plymouth in Taranaki. I run a digital marketing consultancy called Done by 9. And digital marketing for me, I've had over 10 years experience in marketing and media, starting off back in the day working in with MediaWorks and good old Energy FM. I don't know whether many people from Taranaki are familiar, obviously going back to the heyday of some of those radio days, and then working on radio stations and like Classic Hits and More FM over the years as well. But then over the past 7 years, working directly in digital marketing, I've been fortunate enough to work for some leading industry leading companies in their digital marketing. So it's a great privilege to come on here and to speak to you all today. At Done by 9, we help businesses grow through proven marketing strategies. So that's ultimately what we do with our consulting work. And we also facilitate marketing coaching and also workshops, whether like team, group, or one-on-one workshops throughout the time as well. So today what we're here to talk about is the digital unnormal, essentially adapting your business to a digital future in Level 3 and beyond. Obviously, our conversation, the way we're doing business, has dramatically changed from what they were 5 weeks ago. You know, we're entering Level 3 today. So today we're going to discuss some new ideas on how your business can actually start adapting and preparing for a digital future, both in the ways that you're actually communicating online, but also the ways that you're marketing and operating online as well. I think we all know kind of the economic state of where we are at the moment. So I'm assuming that obviously everyone's going to follow the rules of whether they can trade or not. Today, what we're more here to talk about is about how your business and your marketing strategies need to adapt and potentially pivot due to this ongoing COVID-19 situation, the lockdowns that we're facing, and obviously just this overall change that we're having in the unnormal digital marketplace. People are going to adapt. And I believe that businesses are going to have to as well. So simply waiting for normal to return isn't going to work. And instead, you need to become the leader in your industry, and you need to start preparing your business for that digital unnormal. Look, I believe over the past 5 weeks, if anything, it's been challenging. It's been really difficult. But the past 5 weeks has been a way of kind of hitting that reset button for a lot of businesses as well. Suddenly we've been forced to take a real look at the way we're communicating with our customers online, the way we're promoting our product and services, and just a different or even better way of actually doing business and fulfilling orders and customers' needs. So essentially, if you haven't hit that reset button on your business, hopefully today I'll give you a bit of motivation on some things that you can potentially do with your business. Look, I also understand the struggle. It hasn't been easy for a lot of businesses. My wife and I, along with our 2 business partners, we own a hair salon on the main street of town here in New Plymouth. And obviously, hair salons and that type of industry has been closed now for 5 weeks. It's made $0. So I get it. This is really tough. And obviously, the hair salons, they're all still closed now for the next couple of weeks. But what I believe we need to do is we need to all pause. We need to take a bit of a deep breath and use these challenging circumstances to really kind of think and reinvent our businesses and either start to build or work on improving our existing online footprint. Because the way I see it, people are going to adapt. And again, so does your business. And we simply can't wait for normal to come back. And also, I don't think that changing your messaging or adapting a new way of marketing to run your business is going to be a temporary measure as well. I think the planning we're doing now is planning for the long term. Because after this crisis is all kind of moving down, the waves are kind of getting back to normal. We're not going to go straight back to what it was. So essentially, it's kind of like the new unnormal. We're currently in a transition to a lot of businesses needing to move online. And once that wave kind of finishes, we're then going to be entering like this new normal phase. And I think businesses kind of need to be prepared for that and essentially adapt for digital. So today, the first thing we want to talk about is kind of flipping the switch, because I get it can be really overwhelming. But the thing is that the decisions and the messages and potentially the business pivots that you're needing to make, or the relationships you're going to be building over the next few months, they're literally going to define you and your business. So first of all, I think what you need to do is just take a bit of time to make sure that you're making the best decisions for your customers and for your business at the same time. I'm seeing a lot of advice out there at the moment about people saying, do this real quick, get a website up and within a day, get all your products online real quick, which is good. Obviously, we do need to work fast. But first, what I reckon you need to do is you need to just have a bit of a think about your business and think about actually how you can adapt to a digital offering first. And look, if you've got a solid digital footprint already, then you need to be thinking about how you can adapt even further to fit with this new normal, and the new normal being these different levels that we're kind of working towards at the moment. So the first thing you're going to do, whether you have an online presence or not, is we're going to start by mapping out your current buyer's journey. Now, this is essentially the journey of your customers before COVID-19. So think back like 5 weeks ago, for example. Now, the reason we're doing this is because then we're eventually going to flip this and have a look at our digital journey. So first, all buyers' journeys will typically follow a pretty standard pattern of like awareness and discovery, followed by some sort of research and consideration of your product, and then finally making the decision, maybe a comparison with other options before purchasing, and then obviously trying to retain that customer, enticing them to come back to your business. Obviously, this is a really basic way of looking at the buyer's journey, but every business's buyer's journey will slightly differ to this, to what we're laying out here. But this is just to get you kind of thinking about your potential buyer's journey at the moment. So, for example, this is a real basic example. Let's take a traditional store. Let's pretend that the shop is on Devon Street here in New Plymouth. The business owner is going to sit down is going to go through their current buyers process of what they were doing 5 weeks ago. So for example, if they had a shop front, their awareness and discovery was the shop window, the signage they had, the foot traffic that they got into the store. The next part, the research and consideration, they would obviously greet a customer as the customer walked into their store. They would offer assistance to help them find the product that suited their needs. They would allow the customer to browse the products throughout their store. Then they would obviously, the decision in the purchase stage, the customer would compare potentially the products that they were selling with other businesses next door or close by, and kind of and obviously work out if the product is suited to their needs. Finally, hopefully they're going to purchase the product, and they're going to literally stand behind a counter and serve a customer and hand the goods over, make the transaction. The customer leaves, bags up the goods, and I don't know, for retention, maybe this business, gave out a loyalty card or some sort of incentive to get a friend or anyone back into their store. So that's like a real basic outlook of potentially what a shop in New Plymouth could have looked like. But now what we want to do is we want to do all of that again. We want to write down with how you can kind of follow that same journey, but think about how you can do all of those steps and do them online instead. And think about what changes you are going to have to make with your business and your current journey. So let's have a look at it. This looks like a lot of info, obviously, but let's just break it down. So on the left-hand side, we've got that original journey. And then on the other side, we've got essentially what the customer could do once you move it online. So for example, with awareness and discovery, instead of the shop window and the signage, you're instead using Google and social media as your street front, as your signage. Instead of people entering your store, people are entering your website instead. Greeting customers and offering assistance, instead of talking to people face to face, maybe you're needing to create some videos to welcome people to your website or welcome people to your social media page or your Facebook page. Maybe you need to allow online chat or Facebook Messenger to kind of assist people to browse through the products that you have. Instead of customers comparing you with another store by walking next door or going to another store, they're going to go online. So have a think about how you can help with your online testimonials and your reviews to help convince users to choose your business over somebody else's. Obviously, with purchasing a product face-to-face, you could just do a transaction with cash, but when you're moving online, you're going to have to think about making online payments, invoicing online, being able to take payments online, and then providing a contactless delivery, whether using, for example, a courier, or literally, for some businesses, even just jumping in your car and dropping it off, making sure, obviously, that you're following safe protocols there. And then retention, instead of giving someone a loyalty card, handing it over the counter, or giving someone an incentive, you're getting people to sign up to your newsletter, or you're incentivizing for people to leave a review. So essentially what you're doing is, if you're not currently selling online, what I suggest you need to be doing is thinking about how you can adapt your current way of selling completely. Now, it does sound really scary, but there are tools that can help you do this, essentially. And these tools have been around a long time. They're not just tools that have come out just because of COVID-19. There are some great e-commerce and great communication tools available. And also, there are a lot of great people here to support you. Venture Taranaki obviously offer, they can link you with many businesses like myself who can actually support businesses through the transition from moving online. So essentially, to adapt as a business, what I believe you need to do is you need to map out this digital buyer's journey first, and really think about how you can adapt to a more digital kind of, a more digital landscape. Now, for those of you that are selling online currently, and you're still able to do so, what you need to be thinking about is how you can adapt to your current online offering. Make it even more better, make it more fluid, more personal, make it more engaging, for example. You know, we're talking about, in the previous slides, there is going to be new businesses that are moving online. And so what you need to do, if you're already online, you're already offering a service online, you and your business needs to continue to try be the leader in your industry. So I suggest you do the exact same the exercise, and adapt and think about, adapt your business in the post-COVID-19 world, and think about how you can make your products or services better, because remember, people are going to adapt, and they're always going to be adapting. So you need to become the leader again, and you need to always be at the forefront. So the examples on the screen there. if you usually would take appointments in person, online bookings, consultation in person, consultations on Zoom, onboarding like a big group of clients in a boardroom, jump onto a webinar instead, selling on a website, sell on Facebook Messenger instead. So have a real think about those type of things at the same time when you're going through this, this buyer's journey. Because it is a time to really reinvent and rethink our business. Now, we do have some poll results as well from that first poll, Adam. COVID-19 impacted your marketing budget. So 49% somewhat, and people have scaled down their marketing spend so far. Some people, obviously 33%, no business as usual, which is great. And we've got some great tips for people and for people that have completely frozen their marketing spend as well. I've got some great tips on what all of those different scenarios can do on how we can continue to use the budget in a good way, or being able to continue marketing without using a budget. So essentially what I think we need to do though, is we need to use this time again to kind of reinvent and rethink about your business and the way that you're marketing and you're selling to your customers. So I've read quite a few stories about business that have adapted really well, even overseas. Like I read about a baker in Los Angeles during lockdown. He instead offered to sell the ingredients along with actual video webinars and online tutorials on how to use the ingredients to make the perfect loaf. People love it. And we saw that locally over the weekend. I don't know if you saw Social Kitchen. Did a post around making their delicious blue cheese gnocchi. They released it on their stories, and I don't know about you, but I had probably 5 or 6 people on my stories then share their attempt at making it, and people loved it, because at the end of the day, your product, people are gonna, you need to be essentially be able to give your customers access to the product that they already love, but just present it in a different way. Try to keep your branding up, and especially for restaurants, they need to be thinking differently about how they can get that messaging across. And you may be sitting here as well thinking, you know, your product, my product right now doesn't need much adapting. But what I want you to think about today as well is maybe your messaging does. So going back to restaurants, if I was running some sort of restaurant or marketing campaign for a restaurant and we were able to open again and restaurants were able to trade again and safely, I believe that restaurants, instead of just focusing on selling food, what they should be doing is selling more the experience of getting together and being together with friends and family and enjoying a meal together. Instead of just saying, come down for a Sunday roast, they should be saying, come enjoy your friends and family and come catch up on the past 5 weeks. So kind of thinking about the way that you're actually selling and changing that and selling the experience a little bit more as well. So essentially one of the things I want you to take away from this workshop is to kind of think about how maybe you're able to adapt the way you sell, the way you market, and also the way you actually fulfill your products or your services, and mapping out that buyer's journey in a digital way, I believe is going to be a great way to start. Now, the next thing I wanted to kind of chat around is around your actual business messaging. So essentially, such a big part of digital marketing at the moment is your imagery, your copy, the way you communicate as a brand. Your website, your copy, your emails, your social media posts, your chatbots, your adverts. It's an important consideration in adapting to this post-COVID-19 world, because now more than ever, we really do need to be reading the room. We need to be fluid with our marketing approach moving forward, and we simply can't be blind as businesses to what people are talking about and what people are feeling at the moment. So obviously we're moving to level 3 today, and that's fantastic. Hopefully in a couple of weeks, we're moving to level 2. But what happens if we suddenly go back to 4? How are you then going to change your messaging and adapt your messaging again to go back to a level 4? So if you as a business are blind and the way that you're communicating with your audience, you will lose that trust with your customers. Now, one thing with all your messaging that everyone, you've got to remember this, that literally everyone's been affected. Literally everyone's been affected by COVID-19 in some way. Businesses have closed, people have got sick, people have lost their lives, families and their dynamics have changed. Obviously, I'm working from home, for example. I've got 3 children running about here as well. And obviously there's essential workers who have continued to work over the past 5 weeks, some if so even more, and working harder. So everyone is affected. And you need to remember that your messaging needs to reflect that as well. So right now, I think what you need to be doing with your messaging is thinking about how you can start to earn trust from your customers. So now more than ever, the messaging needs to be conveying one of support, camaraderie, for example. You need to be displaying empathy. You need to be displaying awareness of your customer and kind of what they're going through. So I believe you truly need to understand your customer. You truly need to understand their current challenges as well. So literally use a notebook. I did this myself as well. Literally wrote down, who is my customer? And what are they potentially facing right now? What are they going through right now? This is going to help you not only craft your copy for your marketing, it's also going to help you save wasted advertising spend on targeting your customers as well. And look, like I said before, there's a real sense of relief as we kind of start to enter level 3. And I do believe that obviously there's still a lot of businesses that do remain closed. And I do believe, obviously, we can start to sell a little bit more aggressive now, but we also need to keep in mind that there are still businesses that are closed, that are not able to trade. There are a lot of different family circumstances to consider as well. So make sure you truly understand your customer before you start to talk to them and to market to them. And then once you actually know who your customer is, this is an age-old marketing technique of actually then turning that customer into your hero. If you think of your marketing or your branding or your business as like a complete story, the customer's always the hero, not just in this COVID-19 world that we're living now, but always. And currently they're facing a villain. The villain's the challenge, the thing that they're struggling with most at the moment. And then in whatever good story you read, there's always a resolution. So you need to think about what that resolution is and how your business can bring that resolution and give your customer some calm at the end of the day. So your business is providing that revolution. So try to think of it like that. So for example, if your target market, you're focused on parents of families, and the families are on low budgets, potentially they're trying to keep their job, or they're having to adapt to working from home. Your customer may be, I don't know, stressed about finances. So have a think about your messaging. Could your business offer a resolution in the form of their product or service? Could they offer something that, for example, could help with their circumstances, like flexible payment options? Could they offer funding or financial support? So really have a think about your business, think about your customer as the hero, identify what their challenges are, and think about how you can message yourself and your business as the answer, as the resolution to those problems that they're facing. I don't believe that now's the time to chuck a real hard sell at people. Obviously, it is getting a bit more in that way, and as people start to get a bit more relaxed, and we're starting to get into level 3. I also don't think it's the time to dismiss the current state. It's not your platform as a business to kind of say whether we should be at level 3 or level 2. Leave that up to the government, and it's what you need to do is communicate how your business can help people. And now is also not the time to take advantage of the crisis without offering some sort of support to people at the same time as well. But what I do believe is that it's the time now to actually support others now and into the future. It's the time to actually adapt what a lot of people call as mindful marketing, keeping really mindful about the messaging that you're getting out. And it's also the time to convey how your product and service can actually help with future relationships, because marketing done right now is going to serve your business for years to come. Because if you focus too much on the quick hard sale right now, it's possibly not going to work in the long run. So the best marketing you can do right now, I believe, is focusing on the stuff that's actually going to help first and foremost. Here's what I suggest you do, a bit of a takeaway. Right after this webinar is complete, I want you to go through all your messaging and ensure that it's not so 5 weeks ago. Use this checklist. Is it showing empathy, support? Is it showing my customer as a hero? Does it show that I truly understand who my customer is and that I've got the resolution, that I've got the product that they're searching for? Look through your website, your social media profiles, pop-ups on your website, scheduled Facebook and Instagram posts, your emails. Put it all through that filter and kind of try and adapt that way. When I think about some tips and things that my current content pick in these times, and things you should do to your business to adapt right now, what I want to touch on finally is how I believe that you can actually get this cut through in your marketing and do so right now, some quick tangible ideas. Now, these are some ideas that I'm going to run through now of what I've seen businesses implement over the past few weeks. And they're going to continue to do so over the next few weeks as well. Now, I could talk about this for hours, but obviously, and some of the ideas we're going to discuss here are just the tip of the iceberg, and some real quick wins that you can implement, and I suggest you do implement literally right after this webinar today. But the first one is, if you're thinking about content, the first one is video. Video is booming. It's right now. Right now is the time to join it. Business owners, they're getting familiar with the camera. We're on Zoom meetings all the time. Look at us right now. We're on webinars with customers. And the more familiar, the more confident that your competitors are going to get online and in front of the camera, the more likely it is they're actually going to use that to sell their products. And if they're using video to sell their products and you're not, I kind of feel as though they're going to win. because I believe that video is a fantastic way to kind of convey who you are as a business and as a brand. It's a great way for you to speak directly to your potential customer. It's a great way to show clarity. You can show sincerity that way as well. And look, going back to the example we had earlier around the shopkeeper at the start of the webinar here. You know, when you traditionally enter a shop, the shopkeeper welcomes you. How you going? Can I help you out in any way? So again, think about how video can actually help and welcome people to your website or to your social media profile. And don't shy away from actually using video also to thank customers for their support over the past few weeks if you've had to close. You know, show customers how you plan to operate at level 3. At the end of the day, you want to be able to assure people that you're using safe practices to get your product delivered to them, for example. And plus, it's just a great way to actually get across whether you're even able to operate right now. Video, again, it's incredible. Show who you are. It's a great way to display camaraderie and just communicate as a person and not so much as a brand. The next thing I want you to do today is audit your messaging as well, because I know we've touched on this briefly, but I need to bring it up again. As we enter level 3 this morning, I'm seeing a lot of businesses still not adjusting their messaging. You need to spend an hour going through the copy you have on your website, your pop-ups, your Facebook, your Instagram. Clearly explain whether you're operating at the moment. Do you need to go through your bio on your Facebook or your Instagram? Do you need to update your featured section on LinkedIn? Do you have any automated emails that need to change? Think about, and especially if you're going through and changing some of the current buyer's process to a more digital process, you need to explain that clearly to your current customers because it's a change for them as well. And if you've changed the way that you do business, you need to make sure that people explicitly know how to buy the product of you. Make it so obvious whether you're trading, make it really obvious how you're trading, and make it really obvious how customers can still buy from you. That's the big thing I think you need to have a look at today as well. If you've got no website, I suggest adapting. You know, if budget doesn't allow, obviously we saw before, there are some people that have wiped out their marketing budgets completely. Don't be too pressured if you don't have a website to go quickly out and buy yourself a 100-page e-commerce site, you know, with all the bells and whistles and things like that. I'm not saying not to have a decent website. In fact, it's far from it. You need a well-optimized website. It's critical for in the long term. But what I'm trying to say is in the short term, you just need to go back a few slides in this webinar and think about that buyer's journey first, the digital buyer's journey first. Once you have that nailed down, then you can make it look beautiful with a beautiful website. In the short term, have a think about if there's any strategies that you can implement like right now, which can actually help support your business's cash flow, like literally right now. And for example, this tip that I'm about to share kind of works even if you do have a website, but essentially now is a great time to kind of use social media to its full advantage. Use social media as a way to showcase and sell your product or service. Even better, use video to do it as well. You know, use, obviously with Instagram, you can actually put your images in front of people and your products in front of people, and same on Facebook. And then you can literally just take orders via Facebook Messenger. You can either sit there and respond to the messages in real time as the orders come in, or literally to spend a tiny amount there's a lot of chatbot platforms out there at the moment. Use Facebook Messenger as a chatbot to help actually take orders on your behalf. And like I say, even if you've got a website, this could be a great opportunity for you to use just a different technique of how to sell your products on social media without the need to actually send all your customers to your online store. Again, I'll say it, a website is critical. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm thinking about short term. What can you do right now to get some cash in the door by 5 o'clock this afternoon? That's what you've got to be thinking about. And maybe literally taking some orders and invoicing people online is going to be the first step to that. The next actionable item I want to share real quickly, Google My Business. If you haven't signed up for Google My Business, do it right now. It is free for all businesses. If you don't have a website especially, this listing will be your homepage. People are going to Google your brand name, and when they do, you want this to appear. You want it to be filled out as best you can. Even if you have a Google My Business account, here's your reminder for the day. I want you to go and fill it out. Post a COVID-19 status update. Share how you're trading, whether you're trading, and how people can buy from you. Do it right now. Add some images, update your bio. This is a great opportunity to do it. Your Google My Business profile is essentially now your new homepage. So you need to treat it that way as well. While we're looking at Google My Business and while we're there, another form of free advertising for the people that don't have much of a budget left. Free advertising, it's imperative as part of the actual digital buying cycle, collecting these online reviews, collecting testimonials. Some industries will have specific websites for you to collect reviews. However, most businesses, I think you should focus on Google reviews and Facebook reviews. So again, if you don't have a marketing budget, but you do, for example, have a loyal following, or you've got some great customers in your database, now's the time to tap them on the shoulder. Ask them to do you a favor. It's not going to cost the customer anything. But those golden stars in Google and the recommendations on Facebook, they're literally gold in the way that you're displaying your expertise, your authority, and your trust to Google and to search engines and to the public. In fact, expertise, authority, and trust are an official Google ranking signal. So think about those as you're getting those stars and those testimonials. If you don't have an ad budget, what I suggest you do is really focus on your relationships, build relationships. This crisis in a lot of ways is taking us back to some of the basics. As much as we've been talking so far about digital marketing and moving to a digital footprint and planning for a digital future in general, relationships shouldn't suffer throughout this. They simply have to adapt on how we speak to our customers. And now is a great time to build the relationships and nurture existing relationships at the same time. And I believe that can be a great form of free advertising. Now, for the people that do have a bit of a budget left, that's fantastic. And you're in a great spot, because I do believe that if you can advertise, do it now. It is cheap. And obviously people are online. But what I am saying, and what I'm saying to a lot of people that I've consulted over the past 4 weeks, is to use your budget wisely. A lot of businesses are reaching for the sledgehammer, like we've seen today on the poll, and they're literally just demolishing their advertising budget. And look, if your business literally can't afford to do any advertising, then we've given some tactical ideas you can do instead. But what I'm trying to advise people to do is not to demolish the advertising budget. What I'm trying to do is take a more critical look at your advertising spend. Deconstruct, define, and then delight your audience and your customers. So examine your spend on your Facebook ads. Have a look at your Google AdWords. And instead of pushing the inactive buttons willy-nilly, look at the targeting, look at your demographic, look at your reach. Now, you should know who your target customer is, and we've been through that obviously earlier on. So what you now need to do now is you need to go through your existing ads and check the targeting. For example, a lot of campaigns that I have a look at, and especially over the past 4 weeks, I've seen the targeting is 18 to 65 plus in New Zealand who have something to do with the industry. Essentially, Facebook's standard campaign. If that's you, and if that's what you're advertising at the moment, you need to tighten it. If men buy your product more, target them. If you only deal with middle-aged men right now, tighten your age reach. If most of your clients are coming from central New Zealand, please tighten that as well. For a lot of businesses, now's not the time to start widening the reach and looking for a new audience. It's about drawing down, finding your customer, the people that are actually going to spend the cash, and really trying to market to those people. Now, as I mentioned at the start of the section, you know, I could go on for hours with different ideas, but what I wanted to do is obviously go through some of those top tips. Because, you know, there is so much opportunity out there right now for businesses to kind of get out there in a meaningful way. I like to share a lot of tips and stuff on my Facebook. Otherwise, head across to my website, my email, if you ever wanted to reach out and have a bit of a brainstorm about other forms of getting your business out there. But like I say, there are so many different options and opportunities out there right now. But what you need to do is you just need to kind of find what's best for you, your business, and for your customer. Adam, I'll hand it back over.
Wow. Jordan, you speak at some pace.
We had so much content in there, mate. I wanted to try and get as much through as possible. So hopefully it wasn't too fast for you.
I'm just going to leave the poll open for another minute or so just before we close it. So if you've not seen it or not voted, please can you vote? We've had some questions come through. I want to make sure that we get all of these covered. So Amy Drake, owner of Lads and Dads Hairdressers. Hi there, Jordan. Thank you for your time today. What do you think of selling product on Facebook?
Facebook, yeah, I think, and we kind of covered that there, 100%. And look, it's something that you can do. Literally, if you want to fulfill the orders using Facebook Messenger, using simple tactics, just try to go back to basics on some of those things, and don't try and reinvent the wheel. But Facebook's a great way of obviously getting your product out there and sharing that with as many, with a good wide audience. And then literally you can, if you post about a product, you can literally add the message button to your post and get people to literally click the button. If you're interested in this product, click message, and then fulfill an order that way. So 100% jump on Facebook and sell your products on there, especially if you don't have an e-commerce website set up.
Fantastic. Stephanie asks, what is a realistic time frame and cost for a business to open an online store if they don't already have one?
Pretty quickly. You can do it quick. And as I mentioned before, there are businesses out there that are claiming they can get you a store in 2 days. But what I want you to focus on is not just getting a store up and live. I want you to think about the actual buyer's journey at the end of the day as well. Cost-wise, that's obviously going to differ, but you can think about some of these real scrappy techniques we've spoken about so far. So using like Facebook Messenger, using a Google My Business profile to kind of talk about your products. Google My Business, you can even set up a real free website on there. Sure, they're not fantastic, but it might be enough for you if you're on a budget to be able to get some sort of products online. But using social media, I think, is a great way. You know, you're building a community, as so many of us are building a community on social media anyway. It's a great chance to use that community and actually and start selling to them and using, putting your products on there so that you can make some quick cash now. And that's obviously kind of what we need as well to be able to get through.
Sean, if I come to you, Jordan was mentioned there about the customer journey. How and what has changed with regards to Venture Taranaki, with regards to, you know, their normal process, and how guys have had to adapt for the customer journey?
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. I mean, we've had to adapt hugely, you know, especially with holding webinars weekly now, and you know, we've got 55 participants on here, so we're reaching our audience in different ways. But I think, you know, just going back to that, I think we've got a whole bunch of mentors and trainers such as Jordan that at our fingertips. So if any of our enterprises are out there seeking some advice or need some help, we've got a whole bunch of professionals ready to help with that. And you know, that includes branding and tone, or going back to what we were talking about before, building a website. We're ready to go. So if you get in touch with us at our website, and we can help out.
Fantastic. Jordan, when you think about that customer journey, there's going to be people that are watching this where this whole digital space is new. So we've gone through this position where the world has changed.
Yeah.
There's all these different options. How do I work out which is the best one or the best couple to invest my time, energy, and effort and money into being able to push forward?
Look, I always say this, it's really tough to know, and it's going to come down to testing and to trialing. No two businesses are exactly the same. No two businesses have the exact same customers. You need to trial things out, give it a nudge. For example, if you chucked on a few videos, as I've mentioned here today, and it just doesn't work for you, then it's not going to work for you. You need to think about a different way of communicating to your audience. So you just need to trial, and you need to adapt and try new things. And at the end of the day, hopefully then you can find that sweet spot of what content is actually getting cut through and how you're actually able to communicate with your customers online.
So just pick it up on video there, because Denny's just put on my note saying that video is the future.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who have got a business, whatever the business, and the aspect of getting in front or behind the camera and just talking, it's often that first step. What would you 100%. Be advising them?
Yep, definitely. And it's really tough for people like us who sit on webinars a bit more often than others. It becomes a bit more natural. But Adam and probably Sean as well, the first time you did this, it probably felt really uncomfortable, and it does. It feels really uncomfortable at first, but the more you get into it, the better it can kind of get. For example, I would grab a camera, I'd write down some key points that you want to cover. Even just the sentences. You don't want to come across as a robot in camera and literally reading a script word for word. Come up with some sentence starters and some key points you want to get across and literally give it a go. But I think the thing you need to remember as well is you need to come across as you. You need to come across as your business. It doesn't need to be polished right now. And you think about in the States at the moment, all the late show hosts, so there's Jimmy Fallon and Stephen Colbert and Ellen and all those people, they're doing all their shows from their lounge right now. production quality is out the door right now. So this is why, literally, I'm standing in my lounge right now. Grab a camera, you can go anywhere, stand in front of a nice bush or a hedge or some nice trees. This is your chance to do some nice scrappy video and to really give it a go. And then, hey, if you get really confident with it and we start to bounce back and get into more polished production videos, by that stage, you're going to be a pro at it. And you're going to be asking videographers to come in and do like real polished videos of you and your product and your service. So this is a great chance to practice and to show you and to just come across as authentic as possible. This is why video is so good right now.
Okay, so just want to make sure we get through the questions. What do you think about donating a percentage of sales to charity or a cause?
Brilliant.
Okay.
Well, if we can support local community, why not? Yeah. If you can think about and you can use that as part of your brand story. Obviously, again, you don't want to take advantage of the fact, but there's some great businesses out there that are currently using that model, and they do it really well. And it's if you got enough in your budget to be able to say that a percentage of each sale can go to a local organization or anything like that, 100% do it, because it's kind of showing that you're in the community. It's showing that you're a person. It's showing that you care. And again, it's showing that authenticity. And that's what people want. People want to deal with a business who are actually driven by real humans that care. And especially in these days and age when people are struggling, people are in different circumstances. Now's the time, I believe, to try get out in the community more often and to kind of share and be present and kind of offer support to people as much as possible.
Sean,
that's why these type of events are really great as well. It's a great way for businesses to all join on a webinar like this and share and support each other.
Sean, that aspect of community and the aspect of referrals and coming together, have you seen any examples locally of anybody that's doing things really, really well?
Oh, absolutely. Over the last week, we've seen the amount of community feel in Taranaki has been absolutely astonishing. And, even with the amount of inquiry coming in to host these webinars, everyone's really keen to help each other out. So yeah, we're seeing that every single day.
Fantastic. Okay, so the results of the poll are in. As an outcome of COVID-19, will your business use digital marketing to pivot long term? 25% said yep, already implemented. 65% said working on it now. 10% said business as usual and no changes.
And that's awesome to see too, that the 65% of people that are literally taking a good look at it. And it doesn't need to be your entire business as well. Think about even just certain aspects of your business that potentially could pivot and move online. Because obviously some of those old school marketing techniques are going to come back. Of course they are, but I don't think they're going to come back in the same way that we've experienced before.
Yeah, so, and I think that's the thing, Jordan. It's understanding what the digital space is, but actually that connectivity, that social interaction, the community 100%. Feel, etc. I think referrals for me is a big part of what's going on at the moment.
Exactly. And that's why with the point going back about relationships are still such a key part to all of this. And building on those relationships, if you don't have much of a budget, literally talking to people, picking up the phone and doing some of those old school marketing practices, it's still going to go a real long way. And you never know, the other person at the other end of the phone or the email that you're sending could be really desperate for a bit of human connection right now, and they might have been in lockdown by themselves. You never know someone's circumstances. So it could be like, oh my goodness, thank you so much for talking. I just want to have a chat and that type of thing. So definitely, I think, just relationships, building up those relationships is key.
Fantastic. Last question. I work in the community. In terms of motivating positive change, inspiring action, is it too early to be aspirational, i.e. when times are so hard? How much do we focus on the future versus the present?
No, I don't think so. I think it's a great thing. And I think, obviously at the moment, mental health is obviously a big thing as well. And we need to get that across as much as possible around the fact that this isn't all doom and gloom, that we will all get through this. So I definitely don't think that that you shouldn't be trying to be aspirational with your posts and things like that. I also don't think you dismiss how we used to live as well. Sometimes it's good for brands to kind of display how things have actually changed for them. So even in the community space, so kind of saying, 5 weeks ago, this is the way we were operating. These are the challenges we faced over the past 4 weeks. weeks, and this is how we're going to adapt. And we're kind of, you can actually help to build a bit of community support around that as well. So if you kind of include people in your journey and include, this is where we were, this is where we're aspiring to be, and this is how we're wanting to grow our business or our community organization, take people along in the journey as well. This is a great opportunity to do so without dismissing what's happened, but kind of taking people along and kind of showing them, you know, what you've planned for the future and how we're all going to get through this essentially together.
Fantastic. Jordan, thank you ever so much. Sean, there's a question that's come in with regards to recording. If you can just cover that off as you close out today's webinar.
Sure. Well, thank you very much, Adam, for helping facilitate that, and thanks again, Jordan. That was really amazing. You sharing your practical advice and, you know, ways that we can kickstart and improve in a digital space. For the recording question, yes, we've recorded the webinar, and I'll be sending out a link to where you can check that out this afternoon. I'll also send out a link to our next webinar, which will be on Thursday, the 30th of April at 11:30. So that's at the same time. Our next webinar is going to be another short and sharp practical webinar, which is going to be hosted by Strategy Collective. So Strategy Collective are going to talk to us on an HR capacity, and that's going to be about practicalities specifically for hospitality and retail. So we looked at the poll from last week, and HR is a really big one. So we're going to concentrate on that. Thanks again for joining, and haere rā.